Once upon a time in the golden kingdom of Lyoria, there lived a beautiful princess named Elira. Her hair shone like morning sunshine, and her voice was as soft as the wind in spring. But Princess Elira had one tiny problem. She was incredibly lazy. She didn't want to get out of bed. She didn't want to comb her hair. She didn't want to go to royal meetings, learn royal manners, or even wave from the royal balcony. Instead, Elira would lie in her giant canopy bed, surrounded by soft pillows and golden curtains, whispering, "Why stand when you can sit? Why sit when you can nap?" Her parents, King Alaric and Queen Maria, were deeply worried. "We can't have a queen who naps through the day," said the king. "What if the kingdom is in danger and she's snoring in the tower?" added the queen. So the royal advisors, wizards, and wise animals of the kingdom gathered to help. Some offered magical alarm clocks, others created singing birds, and one wise tortoise even suggested a race. But Elira simply yawned and rolled over. One day, a mysterious old woman appeared at the castle gates. She wore a crooked hat and carried a crooked staff. "I can fix the princess," she declared, "but it must be done my way." Desperate, the king and queen agreed. The woman entered Elira's room and whispered a riddle. "If you sleep for too long, you'll wake in a world that's moved on. Stay still too long and you'll vanish, gone." Elira blinked. What kind of nonsense riddle is that? But when she blinked again, the old woman had disappeared. The next morning, Elira awoke, and the palace was empty. The hallways were covered in vines, the throne room full of dust, and not a soul in sight. She rushed to the garden, flowers overgrown, birds silent. She ran to the village, houses abandoned, carriages broken, and grass growing through the streets. Panic rose in her chest. "Did the world move on without me?" she whispered. Suddenly a voice rang out from nowhere. "When you choose to do nothing, nothing will choose you." These words echoed through Elira's mind as she stood in the crumbling palace she once called home. For years she had watched passively as everything around her fell into decay. The gardens where she used to play withered, the town beyond the palace walls deteriorated, and her own spirit dimmed with each passing day. But something changed that morning. As she gazed at her reflection in a dusty mirror, tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in her life, Elira wanted to act. No more waiting for someone else to fix things. No more hoping that tomorrow would magically be different. She started small, picking up a broom and sweeping away years of neglect from the palace halls. Each stroke felt like breaking free from invisible chains. Then she moved to the gardens, pulling weeds, trimming overgrown bushes, breathing life back into the forgotten roses. But Elira didn't stop there. She rode into town, where broken windows and sagging roofs told stories of abandonment. House by house, cottage by cottage, she began to rebuild. Her hands grew calloused, her dresses stained with work, but her eyes, they sparkled with purpose. Because she finally understood, destiny doesn't choose those who wait, it chooses those who act.
Enjoying the video, correct? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Please leave your feedback, hit like, share the content.
Something magical was happening in the village. With each passing day, as Elira performed more acts of kindness, the empty streets began to fill with familiar faces. People who had once fled in fear were now returning, bringing with them their laughter, their stories, and their hope. Where silence once ruled, the sounds of life emerged like a symphony. Children's giggles echoed through the cobblestone streets. Neighbors called out warm greetings to one another. The marketplace, which had stood deserted for so long, now bustled with activity. Even nature itself seemed to celebrate this transformation. Birds that had long abandoned their perches returned, filling the air with their sweet melodies. The old church bells, which had been silent for months, now rang out clear and strong, their familiar chimes marking the hours of each joy-filled day. But the most remarkable change wasn't in the village itself, it was within Elira. Each smile she received, each thank you, each moment of connection, they all built something inside her. For someone who had once lived in shadows, who had known only fear and isolation, this new feeling was extraordinary. It was pride, pure, genuine pride. Not the kind that comes from power or fear, but the kind that blooms from knowing you've made the world a little bit better, one kind action at a time. "You did it," said the queen tearfully. "Yeah," Liana said, collapsing onto a couch. "But tomorrow I'm sleeping in." Everyone laughed. And from that day on, Princess Liana wasn't known as lazy anymore. She was known as the princess who got up when it mattered most.